Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Polyhedron Collidecast, episode 16.
We're back.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a break because I inconveniently moved house.
We've still not forgiven him for this.
Still very
We had
rude.
to journey to the fucking Cotswolds for this.
It was dark getting into this place.
It's actually quite terrifying. Most of the roads around here don't have any street lamps.
We noticed.
So most of my driving has been that horrible thing when another car's coming towards you and the lights are blinding you and you're thinking, where the fuck is the road? Where's the road? Where's the road? Don't crash! Oh, I'm safe. That's acting now.
Oh my god, there's a big puddle of Matt complaining.
Yes.
What's on a sheep?
So that's been my life for the last few weeks. And because it's the middle of winter, it just seems to be dark all the time.
Winter is coming.
Well, winter's here.
Oh yeah, good point.
You know nothing, John.
Way too many people say, you know nothing, John Cage. Particularly our director.
Maybe they're trying to tell you something.
Maybe. It's probably an ironic thing though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on.
Anyway, as you can no doubt tell, I'm Steve Tudor from Polyhedron Collider, and with me, as per usual, are...
John Cage.
And Andy Lewis.
And we're going to do a end-of-year special with this and the next few episodes. We'll see how much we over-record and have to chop it down to.
Some end of year specials.
Yes, specials.
It's an emphasis on the special here.
Yeah, because it's slightly different to our usual format.
Yes.
In that we'll just ramble on about nonsense about board games, but we'll have a slightly different theme than just what we've been playing this week.
Okay.
Ooh, board games.
Yes.
Speaking of which.
Yes. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the best games of 2016. Now, we are going to caveat that by saying the best games of 2016 that we have played, because it's not possible to play every single board game that's released.
I reckon it is, but
well, it's
not
gonna be
unless you're some
difficult.
kind of job-seeking dolite. Yes.
Yeah, well, even then, I mean, I think there was something like 760 games released at Essen.
That's 2 a day.
Yeah, but that doesn't include all the games released at Gen Con or Origins
Sure, with your logic
or
and
UK
reason.
Games Expo.
Look,
And all the
guys.
ones that didn't get launched at a games convention.
Guys,
Okay.
I can cut this short. I mean, let's be honest. The answer's Talisman. Okay, let's go home.
Someone punch him out.
Andy, put the knife down.
Thankfully, Talisman did not get released in 2016.
It did
was
not.
more like 1816.
I'm not even sure I've actually played it this year, you know.
No, you haven't. I know that. Because I haven't been dragged into it.
And I
Drag?
refuse.
Yes. Anyway, because we can't play everything, there's a few notable exceptions that we kind of thought that were big, famous, I say big popular games that are hyped that we've not had the opportunity to play.
Honourable mentions.
Yeah, so we've not played Seafall, which we were quite hyped about, but it's had some mixed reviews once it came out.
Is that the one I thought that looked from a distance like Dead of Winter?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
the legacy game that was built from the ground up as a legacy game.
Yes.
So it's like Pandemic Legacy, but
That's right.
built. But there's been mixed reviews about one. A lot of people say it's actually quite boring,
Oh, really?
which was disappointing. We've not had a chance to play Terraforming Mars, which is the popular game at the moment, which everyone's clambering to get hold of because it's all sold out everywhere.
Lots of people in our board game group played it, and we haven't yet.
Yeah, ironically, I've seen people. I've been in a board game group on the Tuesday night where 2 different tables were playing Terraforming Mars, and I was
We
playing
haven't.
Warhammer Quest. So because there wasn't enough room on the Terraforming Mars tables,
You should have claimed press rights.
don't think that
Come on,
works.
come on, guys.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't
no.
work.
They don't respect us enough.
They don't respect you, full stop.
Well, there is that, yes.
Like I say, I think they respect us the correct amount at which we deserve. We haven't played Mechs vs Minions yet. I
No.
have ordered it. It might get here before Christmas. I doubt
whatever.
it. And we haven't played Cry Havoc, which is another one of the big ones that I thought would be interesting, which is the Portal Games one. So we're not going to do a top 10. We're not going to rank them. We're just going to list the games that we've enjoyed playing. Really, we haven't gone through and decided which is best and which one's worst, but
So in no particular order.
in no particular order.
In one. We need the bullseye music playing in the background now. Where were your friends and mother with this beautiful VCR?
I bet you've always wanted a skidoo.
There's always a tease made.
Wake up in style at 9 a.m. with this tease made.
Anyone under the age of like 35. And from outside the UK, he's not going to have a clue what we're on
outside the
about.
northwest of England, to be
Yeah,
honest.
true. So let's have a look at what you could have played.
It's a speedboat. Where do they live? Tamworth. 200 miles from the sea.
Birmingham. There's lots of lovely canals.
You've won 40 quid. It'll take me till after the advert break to count it out. The fuck's the engine? 2p's?
So, board
Yeah,
games,
that's
right.
So I've ripped off Peter Kay
Steve.
heavily there.
Steve, yes, let's start from the top then. So,
Picking one out of the hat at
Picking
random,
one out of the hat.
under any theme that it could possibly be, what would you say your first up would be?
Arkham Horror, the card game. So this is the living card game based off the Arkham Horror universe. Fancy Flight's interpretation of the Cthulhu mythos.
John and I are sitting here considerably stunned now that Steve mentioned Arkham Horror.
I didn't even think you liked that universe, Steve.
No, I don't like horror.
He's only recently
Don't like
got into it,
Cthulhu.
as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's not my thing usually, but this is really, really good.
Okay.
So this is a cooperative or single player game which follows the basic system of Arkham Horror. You are a series of investigators, you're trying to solve a mystery, you'll no doubt be fighting indescribable horrors from the Cthulhu mythos. What's really interesting about this is it's a deck construction game, so in the same way as a collectible card game and Fancy Flight's other living card games. So the idea is before you play a game, you'll build a card deck up about how you want your investigators. So you'll pick an investigator, you'll have a series of cards you can choose from, construct that deck, and go against the scenario. What's really, really cool about this and where this game really shines is it's scenario driven.
Ooh.
And I mean, it is a story which has an arc and it even has things...
Ham.
Pardon?
An arc. Ham.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Good Lord.
Bong.
This has like a story arc. So like I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but the one the adventure that comes in the box is you are trapped in your house to begin with. That's the first adventure. Then you'll go search things, and then you'll go do something else. And things that happen in the first part of the module affect.
I was going to
final
ask,
one.
so that it progresses through the game. So
It progresses
it's
on.
almost Legacy, but not quite.
Yeah, it's a campaign, but it's like a little one-off campaign you can do, and it even suggests you make some little notes about what events you had.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you save this person? Did you kill this monster? And if you didn't kill that monster, well, that monster will go back in the deck for the next module, for instance.
That's quite cool.
Or if that person died, then you won't be able to have that as an ally card in your deck, which helps them on.
That's quite neat.
It's really, really good. I mean, I have a little bit of a problem with it in that the core set is not enough in there. Could have done with doing like a nicer, bigger box set.
It's like the company wants to make money with expansions, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the other
I
problem.
mean, that's only a cynic would say
It's
that.
only a thing, and the other problem is those expansions aren't out yet.
Oh,
So the
that's
game has
disappointing.
been out, and it needs expansions to make it interesting. And as we record this, they're not out yet, but they're due out very soon.
Okay.
Imminently.
Yeah, but this one's going to be a game I think I'm going to play a lot of next year as well. As those expansions come out with all the new modules, all the new characters, and all the ways to build up your deck and make them different.
We should help you.
Yes, you
No,
should.
we should. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
It
'cause
would be polite.
I'm kind of getting into Arkham and Lovecraft now, thanks to Steve.
I started reading one of the books the other day.
Oh, which one?
The first one. Can't remember
The
what it's
first one.
called. There was a collection, okay?
Right.
Bought a collection, a huge one.
Yeah.
It was a guy who went into a sort of forgotten city in the desert, down deeper, and it all got a bit weird, and then it finished.
Yep, that's H.P. Lovecraft story to a T.
Yeah. There were lots of crocodile people.
Oh, I don't think I've read that
And
one.
they were low, very small,
Oh,
very low down, in lots of caskets, and there was a portal, and the wind rushed, and he got sucked towards it, and then next book, and I thought I might come back to this in a bit.
Wow, that's weird.
it's quite weird. They haven't dated well. They haven't aged well because they're written nearly 100 years ago now. So they seem a bit cliched now because so many people have ripped off.
Yeah, I mean it was interesting, and you can see how all the Cthulhu mythos kind of comes from bits of these pieces.
Yeah.
But, as like compared to like a modern story, it's not what I was expecting quite.
Yeah.
Even though you'd said don't expect anything.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit weird.
But there's another right. We'll talk about another one in a minute. Unless there's another game related to that kind of thing, which makes some interesting points as well. So
Before we move on, I just had one question. What's LCG again?
punch him out with it.
2 strikes, Cage. 2 strikes.
I'm joking. I'm not going to ask the questions anymore.
What's the
If you
living
don't know
card
what it
game,
is, look
Steve?
it up. So Andy, what would be top of your list, or first on your list? Sorry, we're not doing them in order.
In no particular order. I think it would be inappropriate for anybody else to mention this one. Really, would be Scythe.
Yeah, I'll do that.
For some reason, despite me not actually having played a full game of this bloody thing yet.
Oh, have you not yet?
No,
You
I
not
still
bought
haven't.
it yet?
No, Dan keeps bringing it to Tuesday nights. I can't. It's not installed.
I'm
No,
not
I
sure
haven't
you can
bought
really
it.
have this on your list then.
Well, I have played it.
But you haven't fully played it.
No, I played enough of it to know I like it.
You finished a game.
No.
What if the last bit's really rubbish?
Well, it not.
Well, that's the normal sound, logical voice of Andy we come
Absolutely,
to love
yes,
and
yes.
Respect.
To be fair, I've played a couple of proper games of this. I know where Andy's coming from. I've got the gist of what Andy likes in a game, and I can see why you like Scythe.
Oh, totally. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of options available to you. There's a lot of things you can do.
And there's never enough actions.
There's never enough. Yeah, well, it's one action, isn't it? So,
Exactly,
and you
yeah.
never have enough resources to do quite what you want to do.
Not if you like. If you concentrate your entire army of meeples on pulling ore out of a mountain instead of building a king mech. No, obviously, when we've talked about this before, so there's no point dwelling on it too much. But the biggest thing you need to get over about Scythe is it's not a mech game.
Yeah, it's more.
It's not a mech fighting game.
I was
let's
going
put
to
it that
say,
way.
thou shalt not be fighting with your mechs.
Yeah,
You can, but there's not really much point.
They're just nice ornaments.
well, they do a lot of other things.
They're
but
big horses, basically.
yeah, they are. They're basically giant robot tractors, and I think that's that. Well, we've gone through a couple of times. That's my issue with the game. Is not the game itself, but how it was sold. But when you actually play the game, it does make your brain burn in a really good way.
Yes, there's so much on offer, and there's so many possible routes to getting VPs and interacting with other players, and it's very pretty. It's extremely well made. It's well put together. It's an evolution, I think, of Stonemeyer's previous stuff. It's similar to Viticulture, but suitably different.
No,
There's elements
Less whiny.
less whiny. Yes. You don't want to be drunk in charge of a mech.
now, you've not played Terra Mystica, have you?
I haven't.
I've had a few people say it's very, very similar to Terra Mystica, and a few people say it's a bit too similar for them.
Oh, really?
But I've not played Terra Mystica either, so I couldn't possibly comment.
We have no point of reference.
Yeah, it's going to get more interesting as a game as well because the expansion's just come out.
Yes, I've seen people sort of fawning over it.
Yeah,
Does it add mech fighting?
no,
It adds more mechs.
it just has more factions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So presumably all they're doing is dicking about with the player boards and sticking the actions in a different order. And
Yeah, there's more player boards, there's more player factions that've got different powers, and it also means you can play a 6-player game, or is it a 7 or 8-player game? So
it's
ridiculous
5
like that.
by default.
So it's 7 then, because it adds 2 extra factions.
Yeah,
So it's a 7-player game of that would be.
Mental.
So how long did it take you not to finish your game so far, Andy? And how many people were in them?
We played a 5-player game, so it was full, and we played for about an hour and a half. So we played a kind of a half-size game. Instead of playing with 6 stars to put down, we played with 3. So we still played the full game. We didn't like play any sort of cut down rules, but we only played it for half as long rather than sort of keeping going. But I mean, we unlocked and we saw all of the mechanics. So there was sort of mech fighting, and there was moving stuff around and digging shit out of the holes.
So if you had sort of 7 players, you'd be looking at something more like 4 to 5 hours at least. By the
Almost
sounds of
certain.
things.
No, I think about 3 hours.
No, okay.
We played a 5-player game in 2.5 hours, and that was with learning the rules.
It was you though, Steve.
It's a game that rattles on quite quick because it's one action,
Okay.
and then you can take that action. And in fact, you sometimes have, if you've managed to unlock your character as your character board enough, you get like a second action. And to be fair, that doesn't affect anyone. So you can just take that action, do it. The next person can then take their action while you're sorting out your board. Once everyone knows what they're doing. And with 5 players, you've got longer to actually think about what you're going to do before it happens as well. So it actually seems to go a little bit quicker with more players. We found.
It does need to be a decent bit of game management, as it were.
Yeah.
It's almost like playing golf. because I know you two don't play golf. I mean, I would say I play golf. I turn up to a field with a bag of bats, let's put it that way. But in terms of course management, it's really bloody annoying when someone's in front of you and they haven't considered their shot and they're sort of, taking ages to try and decide what shot they're going to do as they're supposed to be taking the shot, rather than taking the 200-yard walk to decide what they're going to do.
Surely,
Sides like that.
Surely you've got a bag full of bats, so all you need to do is just apply your bag to the people in front, and then there's no problem, right? It's a contact sport, right?
It can be if people in front of you take too fucking long for their shot. Yeah, aim for his head, whack. But
and they're out of the way.
That's true. It's exactly the same principle that you can, as Steve says, you can take 4 turns contemplating your move, and then you can just do your move and away you go. While you're learning it, it takes a wee while, but yeah, it flows quite well.
Cool.
So what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? All right, Codenames Pictures.
We are familiar with his work.
I think of all the games that we listed down, we each wrote a list ourselves. This one appears on all 3 of ours.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we're all in agreement on this one.
And we weren't copying each other, for the record.
No.
It wasn't an exam. We didn't have to.
You're not going to get done for plagiarism.
No, but you get done for not writing anything, apparently.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I'm not writing it in time.
I wrote it this morning. It's all in time. Just in time. That's lean management, boys.
Or late, as some other people say.
So moving swiftly on. So Codenames Pictures, great little game. You get 2 teams and your spies, and you've got to indicate to your teams, the 2 spies have got to indicate to their teams which of the cards which face down are the ones they need to pick and which ones are not. And to do that, they give you a clue that tries to sway the team to pick only the right cards. So they've got pictures on them, and you would say, if there were a few birds on there, for example, and they were all the ones that you wanted to get them to pick, you would say birds 3, if you wanted them to get 3. Or if you're feeling really brave and you think they get some tenuous link that one's kind of like a bird, and you're feeling ridiculously brave.
If there was a picture of custard, they'd clearly go for that.
Yeah, it doesn't always go to plan.
I was going to say, that's the kind of thing you're looking for in that game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because saying you're looking for a picture is 4 pictures of birds on. It's
never happens.
quite as clear as that.
No.
It's a lot more tenuous than that.
Yeah, the images are really quite bizarre. So, I mean, in standard code names, it's just a word.
Yes.
And that's pretty straightforward. You can't really screw that up, although there are people that we know that have weird mental paths.
Why are you guys looking at me?
We're not. I wasn't actually thinking of you. No. But Codenames Pictures, the pictures are, for obvious reasons, not obvious, because you just say, as you say, you just say birds, and if there's a picture of a bird, it's pretty obvious. So obviously it needs to cover a wide range of things, but some of the images are bizarre. It's like a bath on wheels with a shower thing in it, like with, I don't know, tarmac coming out of it, or something like that. Or a bear holding an umbrella on a unicycle, but the umbrella has, pigeons coming out of it, or something like that. It's extremely strange.
It's like someone took the cards from Dixit and just made them a bit simpler.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a similar kind of, that kind of
Slightly
whimsicalness and wackiness. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I would actually, I can't try and work out whether it's better or worse than Codenames. And I'm going 50-50 at this point. I'm not sure.
We were talking about this last time I was at Tuesday. I didn't go this week, but last week we played Codenames Pictures at the end of the game, and I thought it was harder. Although some people 50-50. Some people agreed that it was harder but in a way it's slightly easier because you can encompass more with one word because of the variation in the pictures. But at the same time, it's a lot more distracting because the other pictures could also be part of that description. So in a way, it's harder to find a singular word to describe the pictures that you want, but it's also easier to describe a number of them with a single word.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. And I think different people's brains work in different ways.
No shit.
In that some people are going to be more betterer. Are going to be able to make links with pictures more than they could with words. And then some people are going to be the other way around. So.
It's funny actually because me and Luke are on one team and we had Rich as our spy master, and mine and Luke's brain worked in exactly the same way. We always looked at it, well, it's clearly that one and that one. What do you reckon? Yeah, we'll go with that one and that one. It might be that one as well. So we point at 2 of them. No, it's not that one. What? We just both looked at Rich. Okay, fine. Next round, same thing happens. We're just getting shit clues, aren't we, Luke? Yeah, we are. Our spy master's a twat.
Hope you're listening.
I'd say, as with Codenames with the words, the more players you have, the better this game is, because there will be one player whose brain works in such a random way compared to everyone else.
Oh, good lord, yes.
You need at least 6 people, I think, to play this, and any more than that, it just gets more and more random and more fun.
It really does.
It's great as a spy master when you're sat there desperately trying to keep a straight face, and 2 people have already said the exact right answers, and everyone else is in agreement, and then someone goes, but could still. I mean, that one does look a bit like custard. And custard, that's what people like to eat. And that thing over there, that looks a bit like an apple. And that apple
Custard's made from milk, and there's a cow there. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great game. We all love it. In both forms, whether it's pictures or words, but pictures was the new variant. So, great fun.
Do you know what I've just thought? I don't think there's been a podcast that we've made yet that hasn't involved Paul Grogan in some fashion. Or at least the company he works for.
Well, there we go then. That's our games personality of the year. Paul Grogan.
Congratulations.
Yes. Your trophy will be in the post, Paul, as soon as one of us can be asked to make one.
Yeah. Be careful how you open it.
It may contain nails. Or glitter.
Glitter nails. That's what I'm talking about.
Glittered nails and macaroni.
Right, Steve, what's on your list?
I briefly alluded to something earlier, so I'm going to mention it again. And this, similar to Andy's Scythe, this is a game which I do not own and I've only played once, but it came out this year. And that is Conan.
I looked at that just then, and from a distance I thought, Catan? What?
Quiet, Joe.
Down in front.
I think there's clearly mileage in this one.
Don't talk about that game on this podcast, and you know well sure.
I know, that's why I was confused.
So Conan.
So Conan is a miniatures game made by Monolith, which is a French developer. Massive Kickstarter about 2 years ago. It went absolutely nuts. One of those record-breaking Kickstarters at the time, which has now broken records about 20 times since then. You know, you get a metric ton of plastic arrived on your doorstep if you back this. Now, I didn't back it because I'm...
An idiot.
Yeah, in hindsight, an idiot. But I played it at Essen last year. So I played it at Essen in 2015. And the gameplay of this game is brilliant. It's like an action film in board game form.
Cool.
You've got this really cool kind of action system where you have to spend resources to take an action. So if you want to move, you spend a resource. You want to attack, spend a resource. You want to boost your damage, spend a resource.
Are they different resources?
No, it's the same resource.
Oh, it's just sort of generic resource.
So as you're spending these go into a kind of pool that you can't then use on your next round.
Ooh.
So they kind of cycle. You've got like a reserve,
Okay.
and you've got like a reserve and a tiredness. So you can take loads of actions this round, but that means next round you're not going to do anything because you're knackered. You
Just
sit
sit
in the
down
corner.
for a rest and a sausage roll.
Exactly.
That's a great little mechanic.
Exactly that. And then you've got the kind of Hero Quest 1 versus many, where there's somebody running the bad guys, and that has exact same thing, but they have like a stream, I think they call it, of their monsters. And when they activate a monster, it costs 1 to activate the monster at the beginning of the stream, and then it goes to the back, and then it will cost them 5 action points if they want to activate that monster again. So it encourages them to use all the monsters and creatures, but if you want to attack Conan, because he's right at the very front and about to win the game, then you can spend as many of your resources, but you're going to have the same problem if you go and activate everything. Next round, you're going to be sitting around twiddling your thumbs.
So everyone can go hog wild in one turn and just go, there's no point having the next turn, is there? Everyone just have a sandwich.
Yeah.
So the best thing about Conan is the stream.
Yes. But the way the actions work as well, it's not just a case of, I'm going to move here, I'm going to attack. You can then spend some of those resources to roll extra dice in defence. You can use a resource to pick up a crossbow, but Conan doesn't want to use a crossbow, so he throws it across the room to the thief. Thief then catches it, fires the crossbow. Conan then bats through the door or through the wall even and grabs a guy and pulls him out. It's all
This game
kind
sounds
of
amazing.
It sounds amazing, yeah.
Do you get to go slow-mo?
You got ramping in it.
Yes. And dual-wheel pistols.
So I really regret not backing this because I played it about 6 months after the Kickstarter had ended, and kind of went, oh, bugger. I'm kind of hoping it's still in a particular shop in Birmingham next week. But
you never know.
Never know. Now, I wanted to mention this. I mentioned a little this earlier with the H.P. Lovecraft stuff. This is all based on the Conan stories by, I can't remember the name of the writer now, but those are based on really old books. Now, Conan's had a bit of controversy as well because of scantily clad young ladies.
Nubile young ladies, yes.
And racist overtones.
Overtones, not undertones.
No, I think it's undertones.
Overt.
Yes.
Okay. Racism, really?
The Picts in it are Native Americans, and they're all cannibals. All the evil sorcerers are supposed to be, Chinese and Japanese.
Okay, so it's a product of its time.
It's a product of its time, but the weird thing is I didn't actually spot these ones because I've read a couple of them recently. I read a couple every week, and I was even looking back and knowing this, I think I'm being really dumb here. I can't spot this.
Probably because you're not racist.
Well, yeah.
Or you're just not someone who jumps on the bandwagon at the moment's notice.
No.
You see these as people.
Yeah. So it is quite controversial at the moment, but as a game, it's really, really fun.
It sounds really cool. We should definitely get a copy. And by we, I mean you.
Yes, sir.
Besides, I spent all my money on cameras and PlayStation, so...
That's true. And I've spent most of mine on Kickstarters.
It's your turn, Steve.
I've spent most of mine on curtains.
Oh, right. You've definitely won this game.
Yeah, that's less cool.
And I nearly had a heart attack in Dunelm Mill.
They're not that expensive there, I thought.
You haven't been shopping with Amanda.
Oh no, okay, there is that. There's that factor.
I think apparently I went white.
Really?
Yes.
And we're not talking about the curtains. No. How much per yard?
So Andy...
Well, yes. What did I like this year? Well, there's quite a few. I think another one that we actually talked about in the last podcast, which was our sort of headline act, as it were, on the subject of Lovecraft. So Steve's eyes light up once again. Was Mansions of Madness.
Second edition, no less.
Second edition, no less. Yes. Now, I only was introduced to this a month and a half ago, ish.
For a while, your Twitter feed was pretty much just filled with "We're humped. Are they going to break through? Will we survive?"
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
It seemed like you were playing one game per night.
Yeah, exactly. That's because it's brilliant. It is. I really love it. I really like the format. I mean, we talked about last time that there's a few potential improvements they could make in the app.
So what would your 30-second synopsis of the game be?
It is Lovecraftian. It is based on very closely to the original books. I mean, to the point that Escape from Innsmouth is Escape from Innsmouth. And the idea, it's survival stroke escape stroke investigation, like the rest of the Arkham horrors. The idea is that it's a multi-tiled map that is revealed on searching, so you don't see the whole map at the start. You have to investigate certain events and objects and incidents within the game, which are controlled by the app.
Yeah, that's the thing to bear in mind as well. It's an app-driven game,
yes,
which means you either need an iPad or a tablet or
a
phone or a computer to hand to play it, which has put a lot of people off.
I don't get it myself.
But I think that it's in this game, it shows what you can do with an app.
Absolutely. The miniatures, apparently they've come under some criticism. I didn't see the problem myself, and they look pretty cool to me. We didn't encounter a Shoggoth, much to my disappointment, but he looks pretty cool. Although we did see this big tentacled worm affair, which thankfully remained behind a locked door. And we kept it that way.
There's so much innuendo. I'm going to explode. There's some more.
The idea is that there is a plot, there is an unknown plot at the start of the game. That's the best bit about it, because even you don't have a goal at the start of the game. You're just like, well, we're in a room. Gandalf enters from the west. What do you want to do? So, well, what do we do? Do we click this? Do we open the door? Do we, there's someone scratching at the door? Do we investigate it? It could be a rat. It could be some bloody great beast. We don't know. And that's the beauty of it. It's actually quite a tense game all the way through it. And the app adds music and environmentals all the way through it. It's just so tight and so much fun. And I mean, I've played...
Do you get a background that says like what your quest is? Or
Yes.
it's
Yeah, and it's fully narrated as well. So you start the
okay.
app and it'll read it out to you.
Brilliant.
In almost a Richard Burton-esque voice. It's obviously not Richard Burton because he's long since passed, but it's really, really, really good. So basically, I mean, the ones we've played, either, you know, you're bored in your office, you've spent 2 weeks trying to find something and chasing your tail, all of a sudden the phone rings and it's the butler from some family's house and he says, oh, I don't know who else to talk to. So you get your skates on, you bugger off to this house and then the game starts.
I see, yeah.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. Steve has forbidden me for buying it, probably for my own sanity and my own for the best, because he's got it and he's got no one else to play it, so it makes sense.
It's one of those games as pointless as both owning it.
Yes.
Otherwise,
But I know you like it, John, because I know you've not played it yet. But it is just awesome. It's well worth the money. That you do get a lot in the. It's not cheap, but you do get a lot in the box. And even though the missions don't change that much, they change enough to make it replayable. And as you said, I played a game pretty much every night for about 4 days running. I still haven't won one.
we still
Actually, no, that's not true. We won the first one.
It's because you're
The
shit,
easy one.
Andy.
Yes, the easy one. It is because we were shit.
Oh,
yes.
Innsmouth is the Innsmouth one. Me and you tried the last time, like 2 or 3 weeks back. I think that's your third attempt and my second attempt at it.
We still
And
didn't do it.
even I knew what we had to do, couldn't do it.
No.
Innsmouth was on fire.
Yeah.
The entire bloody town was on
It's
fire.
insane.
Steve, were you in charge of picking the pandemic cards again?
I can't be accused of that. It's app driven. That iPad has got it in for me, I tell you.
I was going to say, your iPad.
Yeah.
But it's a really good game, and if you haven't got it, I strongly suggest that you consider it.
Well, there's going to be some time over Christmas, so maybe I'll get an opportunity to play it then.
Yes, alongside Pandemic Legacy, Twilight Imperium,
And the rest.
And the rest.
Yes, this big pile of something like 650 games that we haven't played this year.
Yes.
So, John, what have you been playing?
Speaking of games that we might be able to play over Christmas, I just got a note the other day saying that Ominoes should be shipping very shortly.
Excellent.
I think it's actually already been released, but the Kickstarter was
It's a bit of a weird release in that there was a deluxe edition launched at the UK Games Expo.
Is that the one you've backed?
No, I've just got the standard one.
Right, okay.
And then this was a Kickstarter. To be honest, the Kickstarter is more or less a marketing strategy to sell. That's what Kickstarter is these days. You can try and say it's for the little guy trying to fund a project, but it's not. It's a marketing platform.
It is.
It's for the medium-sized guys.
I do find it quite entertaining that the deluxe edition is basically the pre-production copy sat on the little mouse mats.
Yeah, in a tin.
In a tin, and it's the tin that makes it.
Yeah. So what is Ominoes, John?
Ominoes is a dice game in which you've got a sort of grid that you place your dice down in. You roll them, and then depending on what comes up, they're either the dice of your colour that you're trying to get more of, or the dice of other people's colours, and you want to put those out of the way so they can't join them together, and you want to get yours joined together and generally stuff other people's chances of keeping theirs joined. Because when you get four of them
or
together,
more, yes.
you score those. So you can grab them and you make some points. Whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Yeah, so great little game. It sounds really simple, but
Well, it is.
Yeah, the mechanics of it work extremely well. Even with 2 people, with 3 people, it seems to work really well. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It
There's
is.
opportunities to backstab people, so obviously I like it.
And the strategy side of it, I really like.
Yep.
It is. I mean, you've said in your review, Steve, and we've said it on 2 podcasts now. It's one of the only games that we've all played that we all love.
Yeah.
And want to play again.
It's light, but with strategy.
Yeah.
It's quick, but immensely fun.
Yeah, it's good.
It's got this bizarre, as I keep saying, most games you're trying to make the optimum move for yourself. Ominoes is where you try and make the worst move for everyone else at the table.
It's my kind of game.
Yeah.
And it works really well.
Yeah.
It looks good, and yeah, it plays so well. It's a great little game.
Yeah. I think I backed it for, was it 25 quid, I think it was.
So the Kickstarter's just finished.
Yeah, that's right.
Which you could get copies on that. It will be available in limited retail, I would imagine, once those go into production, so beginning next year.
January, I think they said.
Yes, we're planning to receive it January.
If you're in the UK, they will no doubt be for sale at the UK Games Expo. With lots of Yay games, other games.
Yeah.
And we are on hand to demonstrate how the game works. Mr. Yay Games man, what's his name?
He's going to look it up.
I am looking it up.
He's looking it up.
Damn it.
Man looks up thing on phone.
Yes, totally.
Hang on, you've got 2 phones.
Yeah, one's my work phone. That's how dedicated I am. We've come straight from work, John and I.
That's true.
We have. It's great.
Couldn't wait to get out of the office. Bang, gone.
That may have... Andrew Harmon, that's his name. There you go.
I knew that, but I wasn't going to tell him.
How do you say I'm the one who likes the dick moves?
So what's next on your list, Steve? It seems to be quite an extensive list you've put there.
It is, but we've got a bit of crossover, so we've already mentioned a few games that's already on the list.
Yes.
So I wanted to mention Star Wars Rebellion. Talking about the other big gaming IP that I'm a massive fan of. So this is effectively the original Star Wars trilogy in a game.
Yes.
Cool.
You start off at the beginning of A New Hope, where there's Death Stars being built.
Yes.
The Galactic Empire is holding on with a tight grip, and the plucky rebellion are there to knock them out of power.
Excellent. Wrong genre.
The tighter you close your grip, the more will slip through your fingers.
So the basic gist of the game is that the rebels are hidden on a planet in the system, and if the Empire can destroy the rebel base, either through landing troops on it and kicking the crap out of everyone that's on there, or more fun, moving the Death Star in and blowing up that planet,
Yes.
then the Empire has won. The rebels win by taking actions and basically losing the influence of the Empire. The rebels can also run the timer out. So what you've got a scoring track where the rebels start one end of the scoring track and the Empire starts the other. And as the Empire plays turns, it moves forward. As the rebels score points, they move further down. So as soon as that rebel marker and Empire marker hit the same space, it means the rebels have won.
Gotcha.
So the Empire's got this little ticking clock that they've got to find that rebel base as quickly as possible. And it's really cool. It looks... this time last year, Star Wars Risk had come out, which was this special version of Risk, which was basically the Endor attack from Return of the Jedi. And I looked at that and thought, that looks pretty cool. It's got lots of little spaceships. Then I heard about Star Wars Rebellion and went...
Not that we're interested in miniatures at all.
No. Then I heard about Star Wars Rebellion and we kind of went, this looks even better. So I didn't get Star Wars Risk because I thought I'm going to wait till Star Wars Rebellion comes out.
I think you chose wisely. Yes, I played Steve at this and I really enjoyed it because I quite enjoy being the Empire and stomping over the galaxy, forcing my will upon people.
Oh, it doesn't sound like you at all, Andy.
No, usually I'm such an easygoing guy.
Yeah. Lovely, that's the word I've used to describe Andy.
But no, I share Steve's opinion about Star Wars Rebellion. I think it's a really, really good game. You can tell it's FFG.
Yeah.
It's essentially a cross between Fury of Dracula and Twilight Imperium, basically, in a Star Wars empire.
Yes, you can see that kind of FFG thing of where they've pinched bits of other bits of games.
Yes.
So if you've played most FFG games, which we have, you start to notice these kind of common threads, and also it looks amazing. There's lots of Death Star miniatures and Star Destroyers. And
similar mechanics, presumably, not the actual miniatures.
What?
Sorry?
You're saying there are similar elements between the games, FFG games. You're talking about similar mechanics from bits of different games,
Yes.
not the actual miniatures from other games.
No.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's really good.
Tough crowd.
Really tough. You guys haven't enough beer, that's what it is.
Well, that can be easily remedied. But no, it does look really pretty. The miniatures are very good. The board's bloody huge.
It's a massive game. It's a massive table hog, and it does take a considerable amount of time as well.
I mean, it took us about 3.5-4 hours to play, didn't it?
It's not a short game.
But then, I mean, that's pretty standard for most of the major FFG games.
Yeah, it's a big strategy game like that. Is what can look at. And it didn't feel like 3 and 4 hours.
No, it didn't.
It felt like 1.5 kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
You look. It's one of those games where you look at the clock and go, Jesus, what's the time gone?
That's always a good sign, isn't it?
No, it is. It's brilliant. I mean, I remember looking at the clock halfway through our game and thinking, it's only like 8:30. Well, tons of time. The next time, we're like, fuck, it's 11:30. Where the hell did the evening go?
And why's my voice got so high?
Well, that's what happens when the Empire has a tight grip on your balls.
Quite a tight grip on your Death Star.
Yes. On your Death Stars. I had 2.
So we like that.
We did like that.
What else do we like, Andy?
Well, you've mentioned a lot of my list, which is kind of good that we're all seeing some common threads here.
Yeah.
But one thing we haven't mentioned so far is adrenaline.
Yes.
And I am still waiting for my copy of this game, god damn it.
It's only just come out in proper retail, so it's proper distribution.
I'm hoping Chaos Cards get their finger out and send me my copy then.
Limited copies were released to Essen, but it's only just made its way into proper distribution, so it's been a bit of a while actually coming out. But yeah, so...
Yeah, we played this pre-release copy actually. Steve and I played this because this was were you there? I don't think you were there for that one, John. No, we played Adrenaline at Games Expo in May, and basically the long and the short of it, it's a tournament FPS in board game form. So if anyone's played Unreal Tournament on PC, it's basically that in a board game form. I could say Quake 3, but it's not because it's got the sci-fi element to it, so it's a lot more like Unreal Tournament.
Do you ever get a monster kill?
No, but there are mechanics in there that gives you rewards for killing lots of things.
Yeah, there's some very similar things.
Yes.
Is there an overkill in there? Rather than
Yes, there is an overkill. So you can just
Yeah.
splatter gibs everywhere, or jibs, or whatever the hell they're called.
Wicked sick.
Yes.
Yes.
Headshot. And yeah,
Unstoppable.
all of this is in there. It's really, really good. I mean, as I say, we haven't played the finished version, but it was most of the art had been done when we played, so
yeah,
it wasn't far
the
off.
rules haven't changed. I think
No.
they've tweaked a couple of balance of cards and that kind of thing, but the rules haven't changed since we played it. In fact, they've added more rules and they've added game modes like Capture the Flag,
Awesome.
team games and things like that.
So it's basically Unreal Tournament in board game form.
Very cool.
And it is brilliant.
But the thing to point out is it's not got any dice in it.
No,
It's a Euro game.
it is. That's the bit that we started. What?
So
Hang
how
on.
do you decide things then if you haven't got any dice?
You
don't.
Oh.
It's basically you point. It's almost like
Robo Rally.
no. It's almost like if anyone played Counter-Strike, sticking with the team shooty games, like someone's got a sniper rifle and they're just camped. It's just literally point and click. When you shoot at someone, you're considered to have hit, but depending on the weapon you have, the range you have, who's close by, at what stage of damage the target is at, you get a certain number of points and you do a certain amount of damage.
Yeah,
So-
and there's other effects as well.
Yes.
Like some weapons will draw you closer, and some weapons will push you further away. Some of them can go around corners.
Ooh.
Like there's a homing missile, there's a chainsaw in the game, that
That's
kind of
brilliant.
thing.
It's like everyone bundles for the chainsaw. It's great.
Yeah, and every weapon uses ammo, which are little resource cubes.
Okay.
So a weapon usually has two fire modes as well, so it has the old right button fire mode as well. So, but that would require different ammo or more ammo. So you need to have that ammo in your little reserve, and you'll say, right, okay, I'm going to use 2 red cubes to fire off the vortex weapon gun, which moves you over there, and you can change things. You do little combos, like you can say, all right, I'm going to use the harpoon gun. I'm saying words now. These might actually be final guns in the game, which draws someone towards you, and then your second action, use a chainsaw.
Punch them in the face. Yes,
Brilliant.
yes. It's you get, is it 2 actions per turn basically? You get a move and a fire.
You get 2 actions,
Essentially.
but I think you get options. You can
Yes,
move and
yes,
fire. You
yes,
can pick
yeah.
up ammo and pick up weapons. I think in other actions.
Yes,
as
that's
well.
right. Yeah. Or
So-
you can you heal as well or something like that if you get to a med station or something like that. I can't remember.
Can't
Oh, no,
remember.
you can't heal, can you?
No,
I can't remember.
no, you can't heal.
No, that's right.
You can't heal because that's how you. That's the other part about it, as Paul Grogan said. It's like an area control game. As you dish out damage via tokens to other people's health bars. And when somebody dies, points are distributed based on how many people got the most damage.
Right.
Yes.
So if you get bonus points for doing like the final shot. But most of it is like, if I've dished 6 points to you and Andy's only done 4, well, I'll get more points than Andy will because I've done more damage to you. But you don't get the damage until you're dead, which is the other really cool
So
thing.
if you run away.
So do you ever find yourself trying to preserve some characters because you know you've got
Yes.
nothing?
Yeah,
Very much so.
right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I really want to kill him, but my weapon probably isn't going to do that. And if I do that, he'll die and that person gets all the points. So screw that. I'm going to
Yeah.
shoot someone else.
I'll shoot the person who would steal the kill off me.
We
Yes.
definitely need to get this game.
It's on pre-order. It's on its way, along with Doom. So basically, I'm going to be comparing it against Unreal. So the Doom universe, so Quake and Doom against Unreal. So there will be a head-off review at some point in the future.
So speaking of computers and computer games,
Yes.
another one from my list was Android Mainframe.
Yes. Now, we played this very recently, actually, at Aircom.
Yes, well done for remembering the name of it.
I'm 1 for 2. Yeah.
So we played this with Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple.
Yeah, and we destroyed him.
Well, we picked on him, I think would be a better description.
We picked on him, and then much to his disgust, Andy helped me win.
Yes. Much to Andy's disgust as well.
Oh, you loved it, really.
No, actually. But, John, so how does it work?
Basically, it's like that game where you've got little dots and little lines, and you've got to make squares. Yes, indeed. And you've got to have your token in the middle of each of these squares. They needn't be squares, actually. They can be any shape. And the bigger the shape, the more points you score for having closed off that area. So it's basically you're racing to try and seize chunks of this mainframe against the other hackers who are trying to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And each of your hackers have got different abilities. So,
which I discovered to my consternation.
Yes. So you might be able to, for example, swap your tokens with other people's tokens. So suddenly that you're in that nice big area that's almost closed off, and they're in the middle of nowhere. Andy. Or you might be able to place more blocks at once, or essentially you're picking up little blocks and trying to place them and close off areas in competition. So it's a great little game. I like the fact that you feel like you're heading towards like a nice big block and it's all going well, and then someone else will steal one of those little blocks that you need, or as I did, swap some tokens around, or put a few more of theirs. You can't score a closed off area until there's only one person's tokens in there,
and that's a big factor of it. You can't even have multiples of your own in, can you?
Yeah, you can have multiples of your own in, but you
can't
won't
score until there's only one left.
There's one left.
Yeah, that's right. And it's definitely worth pointing out, as you did say, it's Android mainframe. Now that's not just because it's a mainframe for Androids. It's actually set in the FFG Android universe.
That's right.
Which we've talked about quite a bit, and I'm really warming to.
So if you've played Android Netrunner, all the hacker characters in Mainframe are from Android Netrunner, so they're your characters you can choose in that game.
Yes.
And it's great fun.
With relatively similar abilities as well.
Yes. And a couple of podcasts ago we came up with because we were talking about what can FFG do in the future, and I came up with my genius idea of a tabletop Android game, which would be fucking brutal, actually.
You've been told. Get on it,
by
guys.
you two, actually. Yeah, exactly. FFG, sort it out, and by the way, 10%'s fine.
10? Oh, hang on.
Just for me. Of all sales.
I'd be happy with just a free copy of the game and all future expansions.
All right, we'll stick to that.
You can lowball it if you want. But I have to say, I'm definitely on board with John on this one. I really enjoyed it as well. I think it's a really good game. And it's only about 25 quid as well. It's really quite cheap for what you get in the box. It's really well presented.
Yeah, nicely made. It looks good.
Yeah. Very good value for money. And again, I think we all enjoyed it. It's another one of the few games that we all really enjoyed.
I'd also say as well, with the Android aspect of it, it's not that strong. If you've played any of the Android games before, you'll get the link, but you don't need to have played Android Netrunner to get it. Which also means, because of that level, and because it's a simple game to pick up, I think it's quite a good entry-level game as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's because it's quite abstract. It doesn't need to be for the hardcore gamer. Someone else who's not played this kind of game before.
It's definitely on the gateway list, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, very much so, and certainly for families as well.
Yeah.
I think kids would be pretty good at it, even if they don't get the character bits. They'll be good at putting the shapes down and onto the boards and making all the boxes up.
Yeah.
So it crosses all spectrums, I think.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So Steve, I can see one here that you're almost not going to resist at all.
Which would that be another Cthulhu game, perchance?
It may be, yeah.
But Steve, you hate Cthulhu.
You're always telling us it's like you're getting sick of the sight of the saturation of Cthulhu games in the market.
If I see one more Cthulhu game, he says,
I'm going to buy it.
Amazing!
Yes, this is Pandemic Cthulhu, which is one of those games that as soon as I saw it, I kind of went, I'm buying that, aren't I? I will not be able to resist. I'm going to be buying that.
Yes, I am in a Steve. Okay, let's go and buy it then. Okay, let's go.
Buy me.
So this is a re-theme of the classic Pandemic, but with, of course, the H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu license plastered over the top. But it's not just a simple reskin. There's enough change that it's actually a different game. You'll recognise the mechanics, so you'll discard cards to move, discard cards to close gates. You'll remove cultists rather than disease cubes. But the way in which just the way in which the map works is so different because
it definitely feels like a different. It doesn't feel like you say like a rethemed Pandemic.
No,
it is.
It's its own thing, isn't it?
You can't not describe it really as Pandemic meets Arkham Horror. I mean, it is. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the perfect marriage.
Yeah, and it works so well. It's got that quick to play aspect that Pandemic has. You can play a game in 45 minutes to an hour. It's got the crushing difficulty of both Pandemic and Cthulhu games. You will lose.
And that never-ending feeling that you're just about to lose.
Yes.
That's definitely Pandemic.
There's never a moment where you think, oh, it's okay, we've got a couple of turns to relax now.
Oh, wait, no.
Oh my god, some more shit's hit the fan.
Warp 9. Yeah, because now I haven't played this yet.
No, yeah.
Because, I really like Pandemic and Legacy, but I've still not played, because you two played it and both came back with rave reviews about how it works.
You definitely need to join the club.
Yeah, I definitely do. I really want to play it. I've had my eye on it, but as you guys mentioned it on review, it's fucking expensive.
Yeah, for what it is, it's not a cheap game. Now, I call this the Z-Man curse, or Z-Man if you're American, in that there's a couple of publishers whose games always tend to be very expensive when they come to the UK. Now, I think if you're in America, these games are actually quite a good deal. And this goes for the two publishers that really stand out for me. This Z-Man, Z-Man, and Stronghold Games.
Well, they would have been more expensive less expensive had our respective currencies not bombed recently, but
that's a contributing factor, but prices were starting to creep up just before that happened anyway.
Agreed, yes.
And I think prices were going to go up anyway. But as I said, Pandemic, you can buy it for cheap, but if you play Pandemic for RRP, it's not the cheapest of games.
It's about 35, isn't it, I think, for RRP Pandemic, but it's usually about 26, 27.
You can usually buy it for cheaper. So yeah, we don't want to labour this point, but we thought it was a bit overpriced, but it is a great game to play.
Absolutely.
So definitely want to get your friends to buy and then just join him.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, just throwing that one out there.
Steve. What about you, Andy? Something we've all played quite recently, perhaps?
Yes, in the last hour and a half, maybe. This game actually was on our honourable mentions until this evening. In fact, no, it was until about a week ago, probably, when I announced, right, I'm having this, is the game Imhotep, which we all saw at Games Expo. And we also wandered past thinking, what on earth's that? It looks interesting and very different, and it did really well. Everyone was buying it.
If you remember rightly, at the time we saw it at Expo, it had already been announced that it had won the Spiel des Jahres.
Yes.
So that was the first opportunity for a lot of people to try it out and for a lot of people to buy it.
And it sold out.
And it sold out
on the first day.
Yeah, it's like less than the first day. We're both like, right, I'm going to buy that. I can't.
And gone.
Yeah, pretty much. It just flew off the shelves. And I saw it on Amazon Prime last week, I think it was. It was only about a week ago I've had this for 25 quid with Prime. So I thought, I'm having that. So I did. And I don't regret it. I love it. I think it's a brilliant game. And it is rapidly becoming one of my favourite games of 2016.
So give us a brief overview of what it is then.
So it's a strategy game. There's no dice or anything like that. The idea is basically that it's set in ancient Egypt, and each player plays a building sort of planner, essentially. And they are contributing to the construction of various sites. So things like pyramids, obelisks, temples, burial sites, things like that. And each player has a lump of stones, so big wooden blocks that are represented in the game, which are pretty chunky things. They're not sort of wee tiny things like you get in Pandemic. These are pretty big cubes. And each of these cubes goes towards building physical structures on each of these sites.
Cubes, sensibly, not balls, because we all know how that ends.
Yes. No, we don't want to put our balls
Funny
together.
enough, that one is made by the same company.
It is Cosmos. It's Cosmos, yes.
Spheres,
yes.
So cubes, yeah.
Cubes, yes. You take one action per turn, so you take turns to go round, and the idea is that you are shipping in these cubes to the construction sites. So you can either put a cube on a boat, you can move a boat, or you can replenish your stock, or you can play a card. And that's it. The mechanics of the game are really, really simple. But the strategy of it and the decisions you've got to make it so, so good. It's so simple to learn, but so deep. And you're like, oh my God, it actually gets to the point of agonising that do I move this and benefit me a little bit? Or do I move this boat and piss everybody off?
Obviously the latter.
Obviously the latter. So with all of these elements, their strategy side of things I really liked. I knew playing, stabbing people in the back, John would really like.
I enjoyed the strategy as well.
But not as much as the stabbing in the back.
Well, probably.
No.
There was a definite point in that game where you were choosing the move that was going to piss off Andy rather than the move that's going to benefit you.
Yes, I felt
You could tell, you could see it in your eyes.
There's a glint.
I always look like that. Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the general overhaul of all of it, I think, for Steve, because I know he likes strategy as well. It's really good value for money. It's extremely tightly made. It works really well. There's so much to it because there's two sides to each site.
Okay.
So you can play a basic game, which is what we played tonight, but there's also a more advanced version of it that adds different mechanics, or at least different rewards, and slightly different structures and different ways to build each of the sites, and the different rewards you get for doing that. On the reverse side, so what you can do is either play sort of side A game, which is what we played tonight. You can play a completely side B game. You can mix them up. And then there's also a harsher rule, optional rule later on, that if you don't contribute to building any of the sites, you get punished with a bunch of with a -5 points. So
ouchie.
Yes. So there's a huge amount on offer. There's a huge amount to consider, but it is so simple and so straightforward to set up and play. And I would say you could probably get through it in half an hour if you don't sort of sit around and think about it too much. I think it took us about 45 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
But that was with learning and understanding. So
And deliberating some more.
And do I stab Steve or Andy? Steve or it's Andy, isn't it?
Who do I get to stab more? If I do that, I can stab Andy quite a lot. But if I do that, I can definitely stab them both.
Optimal move. Yeah, I've just done that. It's John. Bollocks!
So I felt a bit of familiarity with this game was the only downside I could see. I feel as if I've played not necessarily this game, but games very similar to it before, which means that's probably the major negative point I've got against it. It didn't feel very original, but it played so well that didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was that great thing of balancing. You had 4 different places you could score points. So how do you optimise? Do you try and go across the board? Do you try and stick to one area? Do you pick 2 or 3? Then that whole thing can only take an action at a time. So all the boats are laden with stone. You can choose where places go, and of course that affects which order points get distributed.
And the fact that different boats, depending on how big they are, have to have more cubes on them before they can go.
Yeah.
So then you're kind of plotting, where do I need them to end up so that they could end up at that one, but I don't want to leave it so that Andy gets to go next, because then he's just going to ship them off to somewhere fucking useless. Again. Yeah, it's good balance. I like it.
I was really impressed by it.
And it scales quite well as well, because we played a 3-player game. It's for 2 to 4 players.
Yeah.
So it's but even for a 2-player game, it doesn't end up being a race. Because the boats that you get on the round cards, so basically describe it. Each round card tells you how many boats, or what size boats I should say. You get 4 boats each round, but it scales the boat size basically. So in the 2-player game, your boats are a lot smaller generally.
Yeah.
But in the 4-player game, they're generally a lot bigger, generally. So there's roughly an appropriate number of block spaces on each boat on the boats as a whole, to scale with the number of players. So there is still a competitive edge to it, but there's a bit more scope. But it's still better with 3 and 4 than it is with 2.
I was going to say, it struck me that it was one of those games where when it's 2 people, there's much more scope for plotting out in 3 or 4 moves time, I'll be able to do that thing. There's much less randomness, whereas with 3 people, because it just adds an extra. It's not just a little bit more complicated. It's a lot more complicated.
It is, yeah. It's N to the
exactly.
3 instead of. That said, with 2 players, you can still pull the dick move. So you can say you can plan more, but not really.
Yeah, but I mean, you've only got one person's strategy to contend with.
Yes, it is a lot easier to plan around it, but you can still get screwed. which is nice.
You can still screw it up in 3-player as well, because you think like, well, there's no point in me doing that move because as long as someone does it before it's Steve's turn, it's fine. So I might as well do a move that looks like I'm taking a compromise as well, and then it's Andy's turn next, and he can. Oh fuck! He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. Steve's going to get away with it. Oh, bollocks!
Yes.
Steve wins.
Steve did win.
Yeah. I didn't stab hard enough.
I think next you need to talk about the third game this year that we all loved.
Would be Ice Cool.
Yes.
It would.
Again, really, really simple game. So if you've not played it, you each take charge of a little penguin, an actual miniature kind of penguin, but they've got like a ball in the bottom, a weight, and they can sort of flop around a little bit. Andy, don't go there. No,
too late.
Back.
I've been there and bought the t-shirt.
So the premise is that you're all penguins in school, and one of you is a hall monitor, trying to prevent the other penguins from skipping out of class to go and eat the fish that for some reason are hanging from all the hallway corridors.
As they do in school.
As they do in penguin school.
Penguin school.
Yeah. It's a normal thing actually for penguins. It's just weird and very human.
I've never seen this in an Attenborough documentary, I have to admit.
How many penguin schools have you seen in Attenborough?
Well, there's the next thing. I think he needs to work harder. Find penguins in school.
So anyway, so you take it in turns to flick your penguins, as it were, around this board to try and... It's a bit like Sabutio.
It is. It's
a lot like
Sabutio.
Sabutio.
It is a Sabutio with penguins.
Every time you go under an archway, you get a fish, and you've got to get 3 of those, I think it is, without touching the hall monitor penguin to basically to win. The more fish you get, the more points you get, and you have a few rounds, so everyone gets to be the hall monitor and everyone gets to be a naughty penguin. And at the end of it, whoever's got the most points is the winner.
And it takes, 10 minutes to play?
Yeah, it's really simple.
It's brilliant.
Really easy kids game.
I mean, I've recommended it to a guy at work, our colleague Richard, because of his family. I said he's actually bought it for Christmas now on my recommendation. So I said, no, you'll love it. It's brilliant. It's
got an element of skill to it as well. You can, once you've tried to work out the balance, there are some little trick shots you can do. Like you can try and flick them over the walls or doors to try and avoid people. But
no, you can't. It doesn't work.
It does. It's just the penguin I flicked almost ended up through Steve's telly.
He did look nervous.
I was about to say it works in theory, but what actually happens is your penguin skitters round like he's been on the booze all lunchtime.
Maybe he has. Maybe he's a sixth former.
Maybe he's not.
Maybe he's not. No, but it's all just concentric box, not concentric, but self-fitting box, isn't it? It's all in one big box, and there's a slightly smaller one, smaller one. So it's almost like brushing dolls.
Yeah, and you kind of fasten it together with these little clips to make this little school with walls and doorways.
And that's it,
really.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So yeah, definitely worth buying.
So this is probably the last game I want to mention. And as I said, we're not doing these in any order. We're just throwing them out there.
Shit we loved in 2016.
Yeah. So this is an 8-player game, and this game really works at its best with 8 players.
Don't get put off.
That's 8-player minimum.
No. 8 player.
8 player precisely.
Yes. And in theory, you can
not
play
8.5.
3 shall be the number of the counting, and the number of the counting shall... No, sorry, 8. 8.
To be fair, I think when we played it, we had 7.5 players, but we get on to this game.
7. Just 7.
This game is Captain Sonar, which is a team game where both teams are playing submarine crews, and the idea is basically just to blow up the other team. And to try and describe this, it's like a team-based...
live action battleships, basically.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's like battleships, but with subsystems.
Yeah.
So you've got the basic battleship system where you are in a grid, but rather than being a stationary ship, you're a submarine and you're moving around this grid. So you have the captain who's giving orders as to the direction. So he'll be going north, east, west, and he'll have a little map that he plots it out on. Next to him will be the listener. I can't remember the exact name of the post now. I think
it's not the first mate. The
sonar operator. So he's listening to what the other team are saying and plotting their movements on a piece of acetate above the map to try and work out where they are. Then you've got engineering, who every turn are crossing off a subsystem to say, right, once we've crossed off 4 crosses on torpedoes are ready to launch. When we've done 3 on sonar's ready to use. Then last of all, we've got engineering like Repair Bay, who are unfortunately crossing off systems that can't be used every turn. And when they've got like a matching set, they can rub them out till they're usable again.
And that's it.
And that's it. Now, there is beginner's rules, which says you can do it turn-based, where you each take a turn, east, west,
That's lame.
left.
Oh,
But you don't want to play it like that.
No,
you want to play it where every man for himself, where people are yelling across the room, east, west, fire!
And it is mental. And it is awesome.
It is awesome. Everyone's got these little dry erase boards.
That smell
which
like
do
almonds.
things. That's dry
Not
erase
that I was sat in the
markers.
corner smelling them already. No.
That explained why you were so crap at it.
I was perfectly
Oh,
fine.
it's
No, I
good.
just wanted to keep going east.
So everyone's got these little dry erase markers, and the other thing you can do as well is once you've had too much damage, you can surface as well. And that I thought that bit was brilliant because each member of the team had to draw. And it sounded like so simple at first. Had to draw around a section of the ship. Get a pen, just draw an outline of it. Then the other team had to inspect it to make sure there was no errors. And if everything was fine, you could repair all damage and carry on.
Although when you surface, your position's known
Your
within some quadrant.
sector is known.
Yeah.
So you've got 9 sectors on the board, and you've got grids. You've got your letters and numbers to say which actual grid coordinate you're in. So know what sector you're in, but that's it. But drawing a line round a box sounds like the simplest thing in the world ever, but when you're trying to do it as quickly as humanly possible so you can dive again, move, or fire a torpedo off, you'd be surprised at how many people make mistakes. To which then the other team goes, no, look, you've got over the line there, you have to do it again. And everyone goes, Andy!
Picking a name out of the hat.
It wasn't actually Andy.
It wasn't me.
No,
for
to be
once.
fair, it wasn't Andy for
No,
once.
when you got Dan the pedant, you need to make sure it's right.
But really great fun. I mean, the downside of it is, you can play it apparently with 4 players, where different players take on multiple roles. So you can do it 4, 6, or 8. But I think this game is one of those games that kind of work.
You need 8, really.
You need 8, really.
So 2 families or something like that have worked really, really well.
Yeah.
But of course, it's one of those games that you can't play with like 2 or 3. It just wouldn't work.
No.
So it's one of these where you need to. So you play it twice a year.
Yeah.
But you'll have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you're either going to play at like a big gaming session, like we played at the weekly one, or you're going to play it at a gaming convention where you can get people to hand really easily.
Yeah.
Or a party after a few beer. God, that'd be insane.
New Year's Eve party. What could go wrong?
Yes. So we've got one more, I think. That's
One
on
more?
The list. One more.
Yeah, no, your last game. You've saved the driest game till last.
You say that. And you're probably right. But this is actually the first game I backed on Kickstarter. I've not put this on for sentimental reasons. I've actually put it on because it is not the best game I've played this year by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly one of the ones that suits my desire for complexity and noodle baking the best.
It's certainly the driest and most complicated game he's played this year.
It is, yes. It's called Ave Roma. It is a worker placement game set in Rome, and
for that reason, I'm probably out.
it is insanely complicated. I mean, once you start playing it, the mechanics of the game are actually straightforward. It's just remembering what everything does.
It flows well, doesn't it? I mean, I took the nick out of it being a dry Euro, and if you'd showed me this game 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even sat down and played it with you. I would have found an excuse and left.
Yeah.
Bye, Andy.
It's never stopped you before.
But what's really what this is, as you said, it's a worker placement game. But the really clever thing is your workers are little pillars with numbers on them, the Roman numerals, and you're limited by where you can place these pillars based on the number that's on them. Which means you're limited on the rewards you get for placing them as well. So it's not just a case of your usual, okay, I've got 5 spots and I've got 5 spots I want to go to, but I've only got 3 workers. The added complexity of this is like, well, I've got my number 3 and I need to put my number 3 in 4 different places this turn and I can't.
Yes. And not only that, your workers are not your own.
Yes.
Because at the end of each turn, you pick up other workers that you want to play in the next turn. So you can pick up like 4 3s if you wanted to, if you want to work on area, because each area is basically numbered 1 to 5, or 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, 1 to 2, 1 to 1. As it says, you've got 5 areas in each area. It's ludicrous, seriously. But if you want to work on particular areas, or if you want to use the benefits of like the number 3 area in each of the locations on the board, you can pick up loads and loads of 3 areas. But the total value of all of your workers dictates the player order for the next turn as well. So it is mental.
So the strategy in picking, deciding which workers you're going to collect at the end of the game, at the end of the round, because that'll change your options, but also change where you play. Now, some people describe a type of game as a points salad. So somewhere where you can get points in the game from lots of different places. I think this is a full bloody buffet spread. Because it wasn't like 3 or 4 places you get points. There seems to be like 20 different places you get points and 20 different things. I can build these, I can go grab a senator, but then I get points depending on how many senators I've got. But each senator will give me bonus points for the end of the game. Then I've got buildings, but I need buildings to get onto the influence tracks. And influence tracks, I have to move my piece up to get beyond the major influence. And then I have to claim that territory. And oh my god, my brain just melted.
Yes.
It's at this point I would be breaking out Python and writing some software.
Yeah. It is mental.
This is too complicated a problem to hold in one person's brain.
This is why the 4 worker placement fans in our board game group, myself included, so me, Dan, Rich and Luke, we're all like, yes, we want to play this game. And honestly, at the end of it, all 4 of us feel like we'd been assaulted. It was ridiculous.
They looked like you go on a stag do and you see everyone the following morning around the breakfast table. It was like that at 10:30. All of them were like the eyes were red, their features were drained. Everyone was like resting their heads against their hands on the table.
What hair was left was grey.
Yeah,
pretty much. And it was the things we all walked away thinking, yeah, I want to play that again. We'll give it a couple of weeks to recover.
Idiots.
But we all loved it, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because I think there is definitely strategy involved in there, but none of us could quite surround.
There's only strategy involved. That's it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's understanding what that strategy is, because there are so many options in there. It's like, what the fuck do we do with all of this? It is just a mind fuck. There's so much there. It's like, well, hang on, if that feeds into that and that feeds into this. Do you know what? We got to the point where most of us were just. The board's essentially it's a big circle. It's broken into basically 3 areas. There's 3 sets of cards knocking around it, and there's a couple of extra bits as well. But it gets to the point was the board's quite big for a circle, and well, it's not a wee circle.
Circle's going to be any size.
Shut up. And each player mat's different. It's double-sided to just add, fun and games to the whole affair. But it got to the point where we were all sat around this little circle, and we just ignored the far side of the board. So I'd ignore the senators. Dan next to me would ignore the buildings. It was just whichever bit you were furthest away from, bollocks to it. It doesn't matter. We'll just ignore it. What could possibly go wrong? And it was brilliant, really good. I love it, but it is so brain intensive, ridiculously. I mean, it's clearly the most complicated game and the most brain intensive game I've played.
I like games where you've got lots of options, but I think it can be quite frustrating when there's not even the chance to even play a bit of all the options.
You can.
This one you could, but you had to decide that at some point my brain cannot handle all the options, so I'm going to have to cancel. I have to ignore something. And I said it was just the layout of the board means that because you always got that point of like a board game where you never can quite see everything without standing up and walking around, and it was that point. So you didn't concentrate on what was the other end of the board because you just thought, well, I'm just going to stand up every 5 minutes and just check what's there. So it's that kind of balance. I've played the 2-player game with you where we kind of learnt the rules. And
we say learned the rules.
Yeah.
Went through the rule book.
Yeah. And then I watched the last kind of half hour of that game you were playing, where it was the last round as well, where people were trying to work out what they could do to win as well, which made it even more thinky, and people were going, I can do this, and this.
Like 2 points.
I can do this, and this. No, I can't do that and that. It was weird. I would play that game again. As I said, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have touched that with a barge pole.
Yeah. It works really well. To have designed this game has taken something special. And I use that word deliberately. But it does work. I don't think there's a weak link in it, really. Because everything has its place. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I mean, I'd probably need to play it more if I was going to find one. But by the end of it, we were actually coming up with strategies. I mean, it's a little too late in the day, but we were starting to click. Yeah. And it was starting to flow, and we were starting to get a little quicker at it because we started to understand which bits do what. So that's why I've put it on the list, because despite it being a complete headfuck, it was a really well-made game.
So that was our games that were released in 2016 that we played, that we enjoyed the most.
Yes.
Or as I usually say, the best games of 2016 that we've actually managed to play.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one game as your game of the year so far, John?
It would be...
Of 2016, John?
It would be...
Not 1916.
It'd have to be Ominoes, I think, actually. I absolutely loved that game. So much fun. I'm really looking forward to brutally taking the piss. I mean, playing that game with my family at Christmas.
Andy?
Mansions of Madness.
I'm not surprised.
I think I'm going to have to say the same.
Yeah.
It's because it's managed to blend so many things in and make that app integration. The fact that I think I've played it, I think just like you, I played it about 4 times in 1 week with loads of different people. I mean, even a Tuesday night group, we played it 2 weeks in a row Tuesday night, and somebody else at another end of the room said, "Is it any good?" And somebody else said, "Well, that's the 2nd week in a row they've played it. It must have something about it."
Yes, yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I mean, I could play it all day.
The fact it's got a story to it, I'm sure that adds a level of
Yeah,
appeal.
it's reminiscent slightly of Time Stories, which would have been my best pick for last year. But it takes it to a slightly different level because of the app integration, because you've got that kind of combat and miniatures as well. It's blending a storyline, it's blending miniatures, it's a mystery, it's an exploration, and it's got Cthulhu in it.
Nice.
Win.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for listening. That has been our best games of 2016 that we have actually played.
Yes, there are many, many we haven't.
There are many we haven't. We hopefully will discuss some of them in the future. Whether we'll do... Now the Dice Tower doesn't actually do their Best of the Year awards until June, so they've had a chance for everyone to play the best games. So whether we'll come in the middle of the year and review, look back and say, well, what in hindsight was best game, I don't know. But we're going to try and play as many games as possible so we can let you, the dear listener, know about them.
Of course.
Yes.
That is our raison d'etre.
It's for you, it's not for us, honest.
Honest.
It's
yes.
all part of the service.
Yes. So don't forget to go to www.polyhedroncollider.com for more of our reviews and news, and we will no doubt be writing up this article, these lists into a little article there if you want to double check on them.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely, yeah.
We will be back soon with another end of the year list. We shall wait and see what that is, time dependent.
So tune in, I would say next week, but...
It might be a couple of weeks now. It might. We'll probably be recording after Christmas, so we'll have a new episode out in the new year, hopefully. In the meantime, check out @Polyhedron C.
@John_Cage.
And at Sonic Age.
Don't forget to go to our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/Polyhedron Collider, and our Board Game Geek Guild, because we'd like to have some discussion on there, please.
Yes. Sort it out, people. Send us your favourites.
Yes.
Get chatting.
Thank you very much, and tatty bye.
Bye for now. Playing touchy-feely.
Yeah.
It's a very close podcast, this one.
It is. Almost uncomfortably close.
That's your piggy in the middle.
Almost uncomfortably close.
Sorry, it's a bit echoey in this room, so we need to get close to the mic.
How close, Steve?
About this close would be very nice. Oh, I can see up Andy's nose from here.
Listeners.
Is that my knee?
That's not my hand.
Ew. That's not my finger.